Welcome in everybody to episode 29 already of JD's Empire Sports Talk. Of course, just JD here today. Just me for a Knicks, Rangers, and St. John's little recap episode. Um, haven't talked about them in a little while. I know we had a lot of other stuff going on with March Madness starting, the MLB season with CT on there, Jets news last week. So we haven't really dove deep into them. I know we did a little brief mentioned last week with Tibbs and Josh Hart, but nothing too crazy. We're gonna kind of stay on the same course for today because it's almost playoff time. So I think this last stretch of the regular season is kind of like boring to just talk about, and I feel like I'm gonna repeat myself over and over again. But we still gotta definitely talk about it because there's a few different things going on with these, especially the Knicks and Rangers. Obviously, St. John's season is over now, but Knicks and Rangers, few important things to look out for and just watch of what's going on. Just recognize certain things if I mention it, because I know I just been thinking about like the Knicks. We could start with them right now. Clinch a playoff spot the other night with the loss by the Atlanta Hawks. So I'm not sure how that happened. I guess tiebreaker and all that good stuff was able to allow them and afford them to get a playoff berth. So that's a good thing for the Knicks. They've been a playoff team now for four of the last 5 years. Tibbs is doing a great job once again. I just think this team doesn't have that same magic and fire that the team of last year had, but not every team's the same, so we can't expect that. That's a thing. I think as fans, we have to understand and accept that this team's not going to be that. This team's a different team. This team may have more talent. They don't have that fire to them, but they have more talent, which means they should be able to get to that next level. So I think that there's no excuse with that. They should be able to get to that next level. But like I said, they clinch a playoff spot, battling a ton of injuries at the point guard position right now. Guys are dropping like flies, and someone like Tyler Kolek's getting an opportunity now. He's going to get a ton of playing time, and with campaign hurt, Deuce McBride hurt, Brunson was already hurt. We know that, but McBride's been in and out all year with a few different ailments, so that's something that wasn't new. But he's out for a little bit now, and campaign new injury, he is out. So Tyler Kolek, opportunity of a lifetime. This may not be for this year because when the playoffs come, I'm sure he's not going to play. Next year, definitely. I could see Tyler Kolek being the backup point guard. I like him a lot. I think his offense needs to come around a little more. I think he's in college it was there. I think just think in the NBA he's trying to do the little things correct and putting his offense and his shooting to the side so he can stand out to Tibbs in those other ways. Because let's be real, Tibbs doesn't really care if he shoots or not. He wants to see him play hard defense. He does struggle a little bit defensively. I think that's just with adjustment period that he'll be fine. And he hasn't got a ton of playing time this year, so this is his learning curve, and you got to cut him some slack for that. So I think that over time, though, he'll be fine, and I think this is his audition for next year. Is like in the sense of he'll be on the team regardless, but he can get significant minutes next year. Maybe Deuce McBride gets shipped out for a different type of player, and they need that true backup point guard. Cole can be that if he plays well now because he's got about 10 or so games left, give or take. So I think that's a plenty of action. I know they're hoping for Brunson to be back soon. So hopefully, in Brunson's case, he's back. But if not, Kolek run the show until the playoffs start, and then Brunson comes back, whatever the case is. Um, I think overall, it's hard to evaluate the team's performance lately. It's just a lot of injuries, like I said, and it's very hard to take stock into what they're doing. I know they don't look like they have a ton of energy. They look like a team that's trying to just get to the playoffs. But also, you can't be that team that's just looking to get to the playoffs and not trying to play the rest of these games. Because right now they're the number 3 seed. They've been that all year. But they have a Pacers team that's hot, red hot, and they're right there. The Knicks only have that at least a three game lead, but it could be less, could be more depending on the day. And like Pacers play, Knicks didn't play, all that stuff, like half a game type of thing. But 3 games could be gone like that. It could be gone right away, and then you won't even remember how good the season was if they run into that 4 or 5 matchup and then they lose that. I'm not saying if they're the 3 seed, they're a guaranteed lock to win, but I think they have a much better shot if they're in that spot than they are if they're in the 4 or 5 spot. And also, if you look ahead, I know you don't want to look ahead, but to that second round, I think you have a better shot against a Boston team that is always injured. So you may run into a gift where someone is out that you didn't weren't expecting. I know Tatum has a little bit of an ankle issue. I'm sure he'll be fine, but you never know what Celtic team you run into. They're still outstanding. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking that away from them. They're an outstanding basketball team, but they can have that injury that derails them, and the Knicks can take advantage of that and get to the third round. I think that's something they need to keep an eye on, and that may not be the case. May be the case rather against the Cavs. They're a well-oiled machine. They don't really suffer too many injuries. They're playing outstanding the whole year. I know they had a little bit of a skid, but they're fine. There's nothing really worry about with them. And I think that the Knicks really do need that three seed. So to shorten all that up, they need that three seed. A lot of winnable games in this last stretch. There's a lot of winnable games, and there's a lot of games that are they're going to be challenges. Cavs and Celtics. I know they faced one of them twice. I can't remember which one they faced twice, but that's three of them. Three of those games right there. Suns team who's played really really well. That's another one. So there's a lot of things that a lot of teams they're going to face that are challenges, and then there's teams that they gotta kill. Wizards gotta kill them. Sixers gotta kill them. Those are teams you gotta go in there and you have to beat. So if you lose those tougher games, you can win those and it balances out. And they really need to take care of business. With that being said, let's move on to the New York Rangers, of course, the hockey team in Madison Square Garden. Hanging on by, I wrote in my notes here, I like to always write down specific notes as key points. I wanted to make sure I said this. Hanging on by a little thread right now. So think of, I don't know, whatever analogy you want to think of, and that thing's on that last little thread about to fall off. That's the Rangers right now. But if you want to take it on a positive note, which I'm trying to do, that threat is still there. You're not out of it yet. They're very much in it, and I think that they can do it. And you never know what can happen if you make the playoffs. I keep stressing this. They have so much talent that they're not playing up to it. They can make the playoffs and make a ton of noise if they really wanted to. They're capable, but they're just not playing up to par. And right now, it's showing it in the standings, but they're getting gifts every night. Uh, I know at one point they still do a little bit, but at one point they had like 3 games in hand on the teams in the playoffs positions and a little ahead of them, and they're losing. So the Rangers are still in it. They have that legit chance. They're not out of it yet. It's like a cat with 9 lives. I mentioned that about Brett Beatty earlier in the week with CT. I feel the same way about the Rangers. They're not dead. They have 9 lives. They're not dead yet. So I think that people just need to believe in them. I know they don't have a lot of games left, and they really got to win as many as possible. They're closing up a West Coast trip. Then they come home for a ton of games at MSG, so that should be comfortable for them. Even the road games aren't too far, so I don't think it would be like tiring on the body and all that. So I think they're in a good spot if they have a shot. I should say that they have a shot. Not going to guarantee anything, but they have a shot. And the way JT Miller's playing, he's playing out of his mind. So I think that he's someone that he can put him on his back. I don't know how much he can do, but he can put him on his back and put them in a great spot. I don't really have anything much on them else, like nothing else really. Besides, I know you want to look ahead a little bit. Coach Laviolette um, very easily could be fired after this. And someone that I saw who got fired, I know a lot of people don't like him. John Tortorella Torts, who was just fired by the Flyers. If Laviolette's gone and let go, I wouldn't mind bringing him back. Tortorella's problem was never. I'm trying to think of the word here. He can take talent, of course, any coach can, but he could take the talent and mold a locker room that's tough. That's what I think is the issue with this Ranger team. They have a terrific locker room, but they're not tough. So that's why they're losing games like this. They beat the teams that they can outplay because they're better than. But then when they play that team that they're maybe even or that team's a little better, they're not as tough as them and they lose. That's what they got to lock in on. They got to sit down and they got to be like, okay, who's a coach? If they were to get Laviolette, I'm not saying that they are. If they are, if they would. Um, Laviolette, all right, he's one of those guys. He was a great coach. He did his thing, but kind of trending in the way of his other stops where he started out good and downhill. Who's going to come in and be that type of coach that can set the standard? I'm not saying it has to be Tortorella, but you have to think of a coach like that. Maybe there's a younger coach out there with a new system that everyone loves to play up and down, not strategic at all, just keep going with their head on fire, and can bring that edge in the locker room, that's the perfect guy. But I don't know if that's out there. I think Tortorella is that type of guy they need. Um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Still have a shot at this year, so we're counting on. I'm counting on playoff hockey. And if you don't want to do it for Sam Rosen, I don't know what to tell you. That's his last year commentating for this team. You should want to go all after that guy. If you don't care at all, at least care for him. That's all I'm gonna say. Moving on to St. John's. Season ended. I know it was unfortunate. I had high expectations. I think people realize. Those that watch my videos, I was really, really excited. Something I haven't really seen in my life. I'm 21 now, newly 21, and I haven't seen much success out of this team. Maybe 4 or 5 NCAA tournament appearances, and usually when they make it, they lose. Did happen this time as well. They won the other night. We were very happy about that. The first game against Omaha, which they should have. They won by 30 pretty easily in the second half. First half was a struggle. And I was saying to myself, I was like, please, if they play like this tomorrow, it's over. They're not winning the next game. They're not winning. And unfortunately, they ran into a really good Arkansas team that was a 10 seed, but I don't think that they're really that much of a 10 seed. We saw what they did the other night against Texas Tech. Took them to the brink. They were winning that game easily, and they blew it. They should have won. They should be in the Elite Eight. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They're a really talented team. St. John's got the bad. They got a bad draw. Nothing really you can do about it. You can't complain about it. Just the way it happens. I feel if they played any other 10 seed, they would have been in the Sweet 16. But that was the one team. I was stressing it a lot. They're gonna have trouble with them because it's Arkansas can bring that speed, athleticism, and just the way they could shoot. St. John's couldn't shoot, and it came to fruition there. They showed they couldn't shoot first half down, trying to battle. They did in the second half. They kept battling, but it was just too late. And unfortunately, when you can't shoot and that's your Achilles heel, it's hard to come back in any game, and especially against that team. And they took the loss, but a lot of question marks surrounded just that game in general, just the way it went at the end. I don't understand the whole Rick Pitino. I can't question the guy; he's a great coach, but putting your best player on the bench, R.J. Lewis, at that stretch the last 5 minutes, and he said he played a lot before that. I think that's BS, if you want to say. I think that's not true. I think he just gave an answer just to give one, and he kind of got snippy with the reporter when he's doing his job. If you're gonna lose, you got to go out with class, and I just don't think that you should be doing all that. But Ejiofor, Zuby Ejiofor, one of those guys. I don't want to talk about much more about Patino. I want to bash him. I think he's great. I love him. They'll be good next year. But moving on, Zuby Ejiofor is back, confirmed for his senior season, which is great because I think he has a lot more to work on. Not like lot, but he has a lot of work, a lot of stuff to work on with his shot if he wants to be an NBA caliber player, which I think he could be. This year, he probably would have went undrafted. Next year, if he develops a more of a shot and keeps putting up consistent numbers, because this is his first year where he had extended minutes and he earned it and he played great. So I think that's was well deserved. I'm glad he's back for his senior season. I know they said they worked out some NIL extra money for him, so he'll stay. Patino kept stressing they don't have a problem with NIL. They have plenty of money in the funds. They could dish it out, and that's really good to see for this team because they're gonna hit the portal again. He said he doesn't like high school players that much. So he's gonna have to hit the portal and pay guys, and that's great to see you keep one of your own. Feels like you're re-signing a free agent every year at this point. That's the way college sports is working. So Ejiofor is back, but guys that are leaving, Kadari Richmond, who was a very, very good impact transfer when he came in. Great job by him. Um, in the beginning of the year, he had a little bit of a struggle, but I think he settled down and it was great to see. He was that type of player for them. You knew you trusted him. Davion Smith battled a ton of injuries in the beginning of the year. He showed how good he can be, and then it was tough for him after that. I just think that um, that shoulder injury was really really worse than what it was, and they didn't want to say anything. I know Richmond was dealing with a thumb injury. They were banged up. Aaron Scott, another one, he's going to be gone. He had a thumb injury, so him and Richard are both getting surgery on that. I'm sure something will come out at Smith at some point, unless he wants to keep it private, which is nothing wrong with that. I don't blame him. All three of those guys are going to be gone, so three starters virtually are will be out, and they brought in one already. I think Josan Sanin, who was a transfer from Arizona State, who was recruited heavily by St. John's. He averaged 12 points a game at Arizona State as a freshman. this year. 36% from three, which is something that St. John's they desperately need. And you can see I watch his tape and everything. Um, he could shoot off the dribble, which is that he can create his own offense, which I don't think that besides Lewis, I don't really know like as a guard, I don't know who else did that. So very happy with that move. I'm sure he got a ton of money. He said that he was happy to just be in New York. He was thinking about coming here originally. I think he didn't think they were going to be this good, and now he saw that and he wants to be a part of it, which is great. Uh, Around the 32 exit next year's got to be better than that, and that I think that he's going to be a big part of the situation. I don't think he replaces necessarily replaces a certain guy on this roster. I think he brings his own specific skill set and something they didn't have this year. So that's good to see. Some players I know are expected to enter the portal. Not sure if they'll leave or not, but I'm sure a few of them will. I know Brady Dunlap has been rumored as my headphone falls out of my ear. Brady Dunlap has been rumored as one of those guys. He was injured this year, so I don't know why he would leave. I think that he'll have a role next year, regardless. I think he's one of those guys that should have a role. He could shoot. He played well his freshman year. He played a little bit this year before he got hurt. He was good. Now he'll get a year back. I think if he stays, he could be a big part of this team. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm not sure who else, but I think there'll be one or two more just after just how the year went and all that. But I wouldn't call this a rebuild at all, by no stretch. No rebuild. If Lewis comes back, they really have a legit shot at being as good as they were this year, and I think that'll be the case. I think they'll bring in. I know they're working on Hopkins from Providence. He would be a big get as well. That would make their lineup so. He's a great scorer, and I think there's someone to keep an eye on. I know there was some kid from Indiana as well. I can't remember the name off top of my head. He's another guy they're going to look at. They're going to be in on all the big transfers, and that's how it should be. The way the program's trending. They have a ton of funds. They can go out and get anybody. They play in New York City. If you don't love that, Rick Pitino, a great team this year. You want to build off that. So that's why I think it's going to be a nice reload. I think they'll be ready to go, and I'm very excited. I know it was a disappointing end, but we got to take it this way. Where was this team 3 years ago? They wouldn't even be close to this. So I think we got to just step back. I know in the beginning, in the moment, I was extremely disappointed. Just it hurt a little bit. But I think we got to take a step back now, or over like about a week removed, and we got to be like, okay, that was a great year. That's an accomplishment. This team didn't make the tournament last year. They weren't as good as they were. Now this year, terrific team, number 2 seed. That's an accomplishment in itself. Got the first round win. Any win in the March Madness is difficult, and they were able to do that. Um, Second round loss. Next year's got to be better than that. You can't go backwards now. You got to be up there in the Big East. You got to be competing in the top three. Maybe not win. I'm not saying win. Got to be in the top three of the Big East. Got to sit back and be like, okay, we're gonna do this thing. And reload is very makes me very excited. Happy to see any other guys they bring in. We'll get on it too. We're gonna talk about it as much as we can. I'm sure next week. I haven't worked out the schedule entirely yet. I know I'll talk Mets on my own. I'm not gonna have CT come in every week. He'll be back in probably 3 weeks to a month, depending on if anything urgent happens. But I'll definitely talk about the Mets next week. Um, Knicks, Rangers, and St. John's will probably do a check-in because it's approaching the last week or 2 or 3 of the regular season for those two teams. And if St. John's makes a move, we'll definitely do that. Jets we're kind of going to lay low on for now. Jet specialist Ryan Downey, maybe he'll pop in for some Mets. Probably not. It depends. Keep checking out our Instagram and TikToks and YouTube. We really need those views on the YouTube. I hope as my headphone falls out once again. Um, we really need those views on the YouTube. I think that we can get more views on there. It'd be very nice for the program, as Pat McAfee would say in my inner McAfee, the program. It'd be very nice if that's the case. So I would appreciate it a lot. And then nothing really else. Yeah, next week probably 2 episodes maybe. Maybe I'll do a specific Final Four and national championship picks or preview type of thing. We can probably do definitely a championship preview. Um, Maybe a Final Four. We'll see what happens. But yeah, our brackets are not terrible, but they could be better. Um, BYU was another team that lost that I really thought they were going to go far. Unfortunately, they didn't. But my championship pick is still in there, Houston. So we'll see what happens. I just want to thank everyone. JD's Empire Sports Talk has grown a lot, and I'm really proud of just everyone. It doesn't. I know it looks like I'm doing all the work, but I really want to thank everyone. In the sense of just following, liking, commenting. I love the comments. That's what I love. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. But I don't want to. I don't want to hear in a hurtful way, especially if I don't know you. So it was someone on TikTok. I don't want to say names because I really don't know the person's name. But he didn't leave a nice comment last week, and I just deleted it. There's no need to argue about it, but just like keep your comments to yourself if they're not going to be nice. Maybe you can disagree. I love that. I love having that back and forth. I don't mind doing that at all. If you think that I'm wrong for saying Zuby Ejiofor being back is good, let me know. I don't care. That's something I like. I like that back and forth. But I don't want to be negative. I'm very happy about the way this is all going uh from December to now. I'm very excited. And with that being said, episode 29 is over, and I hope everyone has a great night.